Okay, who has the next dream? Okay, let's do it.
Let me do it.
Yes, if you're going to title this dream.
The title is American Idol Judges Preparing to be Judged.
American Idol judges what?
Preparing to be judged.
You write so much better than me. Thank you. I could have done it. Okay. And how did you feel in the dream?
I don't think that I had any sense of feeling. I was observing.
Okay.
So I felt indifferent.
Okay. Observing.
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel when you woke up from the dream?
When I woke up from the dream, I went, what's the Lord saying?
Yeah.
Curious, inquisitive.
Okay.
Where were you when the dream started?
In whatever they call the building where American Idol takes place, an indoor auditorium. Theater place.
Yeah. Theaters can represent, if you're watching it, then it can represent something that is of great magnitude. We go to see the theater. How do you feel when you go see the theater? We're going to the theater. It's not something that's normal. Or are you on the stage? Well, then it's in front. Whatever's going to happen is going to be in front of other people. And so when we're in a theater, it depending on the size of the theater is to the degree of impact it's going to have. Same with a boat. If you are in a one-man rowboat, that's the impact that God has for the situation. Are you in a speedboat? Are you in a cruise boat? Right? Cruise boat has great impact, and it carries a lot of people, and it carries a lot of weight. And I think some of the most difficult things in our life sometimes is not understanding your impact, because it gets you in trouble if you don't. If you don't understand the sphere of influence and impact that you're called to orbit in, you get in trouble because you think, standing up on stage and traveling around and preaching, that's amazing, right? So you work to get that because in your brokenness, you think that's what's going to bring you satisfaction, peace, and joy. And so what happens is you don't understand your sphere of influence, and you kick doors open, and it just doesn't work. But when we get right with ourselves and understand, what is my impact? What's my sphere of influence? Is it the students that I'm teaching? It may be. And if you're faithful with that, your tent pegs will be lengthened. Is it teaching a church, pastoring a church? Or is it being an apostle and pastoring many churches? You've got to understand, you do not go from being in seminary to being an apostle. It doesn't happen. There's this influence that has to be built up through trust, favor, character, and integrity. And you don't open the doors. It's the people around you that open the doors for you. Okay? And sometimes we get hurt because we try so hard because we think, that's what I like. I would love to do that. And we try to bypass all the pain and trial and testing to get there. And what ends up happening is we become humiliated and we fall on our face. Right? And we have to start over, basically. All right, so theater.
Okay, so...
Back to the dream.
Yes.
I have intermissions.
Right. So, when you're actually watching the show for real, it's the contestants that are on the stage, and the judges are behind their seats. In my dream, the judges were on the stage, the contestants were behind the seats.
And were they the specific judges?
Yes. It was Simon Cowell, Paul Abdul. The next person was actually, although in my dream she was a former Idol judge, I knew that she was actually from Dancing with the Stars, the very first lady that was...
The Oriental one?
No, the very first one was an African-American woman. Not judge. She was the whole co-host. Remember the top co-host? Anyway, so I remember seeing her in the dream and going, aren't you from Dancing with the Stars? But this was the American Idol former judges. So it was that lady, I remember her. And then there were others that
Does anyone remember her name? Where was she?
American. From season 1. She was only season 1.
Season 1 of what?
Dancing with the Stars.
Sure, Google can find it.
Yeah, Google it.
And there were several others that represented, I knew in the dream they represented judges from the seasons of American
Okay.
Idol.
Got her.
They were dressed in black formal attire.
Lisa Canning?
Lisa Canning, yeah, that's what I'm seeing.
She was replaced by Samantha Harris.
That's correct.
Which one? Which one is it?
Who is it?
Lisa Canning.
Lisa Canning.
Lisa Canning?
Lisa.
She's the original woman.
Yeah, and she wasn't the judge, she was the co-host.
That her?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah. That's
All
what
is
she did with the stars.
Oh, calling it loving. Oh, not Lisa. That's interesting. Lisa is consecrated. That's interesting.
Okay. And they're on the stage, and the contestants are behind the seating.
Correct,
The judges.
right.
Okay.
So it's like the tables were flipped, and now the judges that have been doing the judging were now going to be judged. And I knew that as I was observing.
And what was their expression, or what do you feel like you felt from them?
Actually, I heard them, Paula said to Simon, something along the lines of, I'm really nervous, what are they gonna say, how are they going to judge?
Did you hear Simon answer her?
No, I think he just kind of listened and maybe like moved his head.
Yeah, he went about to open his mouth.
Yeah, and like
He
I
knew
said,
it.
I don't recall who, like the other judges, I don't remember them. You know how sometimes in your dreams they don't look exactly as they did in the show, but I knew
Uh-huh.
they were part of the seasons of judges.
Right.
Um,
They were wearing black.
they were wearing black, like cocktail, like formal attire,
That's one more time.
because they're on the big stage with the lights and everything. And they are literally preparing for the contestants to now judge them on what they judge.
So they're being judged on how they've judged?
Right.
Okay.
And he said that they were expecting a real
Well,
hardship.
right.
And then how did it end?
Right, and so they're expecting, I got the sense, especially given what Paul was saying, like I knew in my dream they were expecting a harsh judgment. I knew in my dream Simon Cowell is known for being harsh,
Right.
just very cutting with his words. And so he's fully expecting he's going to be judged in the same manner in which he judged. The rest of the judges just kind of seemed nervous. It seemed almost like he was the only one that like fully expected that. The others were just kind of nervous, like what's going to happen? Are they going to judge us the same? Are they going to be critical? Well, then all of a sudden the scene shifts. It's the same people, but we go from being indoors, formal, lights, glitz, and glamour theater to being outside, like in a lawn.
Okay, so the whole scene transitions from a theater to being outside on a lawn.
field. Yeah.
Okay. An open field.
Mm-hmm. So I remember seeing grass in open field. And this time, Simon is now wearing casual weekend attire. He's wearing denim shorts, a button-up, like beach-looking t-shirt, not t-shirt, a button-up shirt, like a floral, you know what I'm talking about, like beachy. But he's in a wheelchair,
Oh.
and his legs were broken.
Okay.
And he seemed humbled, but it was almost like he's expecting the harsh judgment, so he's expecting to be humbled even more.
Mm-hmm.
The other judges also, they went from wearing their black formal attire to just wearing like casual spring summery
Okay.
attire. Let me know when you're ready. Continue.
Okay. So was Simon the only one you had something different about?
He's the only one that was in a wheelchair. Yeah,
Okay.
all the others were still fine.
Normal?
Yeah. Then the contestants that are going to do the judging, they're also now wearing spring-like attire. In fact, I remember one of them was wearing like a very spring, almost like a pink, like a pastel colors of spring, spring-like little button-up jacket, sort of like
Yeah, I just put
semi-casual,
spring.
semi-formal.
Spring summer.
Yeah, so everything just sort of switched to screen.
What are y'all doing?
Prophetic utterance right here.
You're knocking the
Time,
clocks off.
time is being shifting.
I'm not gathering very
It's time to shift. Everybody up.
Okay, and then I see, because I'm watching all of this, I see the contestants that are going to do the judging. I see some of them going, like bringing out flowers. So now I start to see that they are going to come out and actually gift flowers to these judges, and they're going, and I remember, I don't know if I had a knowing or I heard them, I think I heard them say they were going to, this was going to surprise the judges. They were actually going to come out and rather than judge them, they were going to,
Rather than being stoned.
rather than being stoned,
Bless them.
they were going to come out, yeah, and give them gifts and honor them and extend grace and forgiveness.
Gifts or flowers?
Well, flowers.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, this is important.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the only other thing I noticed was that Simon seemed really moved.
Seemed
Really
moved.
moved. Yeah, as this was, by the gesture.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's it? All right. What's your sphere of influence?
Our community.
Okay. I think this, well, let me walk through it. It's a very interesting dream. It's interesting in the fact that I've actually heard this dream before.
Oh.
So, we look at American Idol as being it's a very prophetic, everybody watches it. I think I've seen it a couple of times, and only when I stay with Esther because whatever it is, when they say, I don't have TV, so they record it, and they make me sit through it. And so, but a lot of times we'll say, you hear American Idol really is where our nation's at,
Yep,
right?
yep.
That is the epitome of where our nation's at, right? Her sphere, the dreamer's sphere of influence is her community, right? Pastoral community, right? So we have on stage in a theater is for all to see, right? For all to see. And tables have been turned. We got that. Tables have been turned. Why do you think Simon, Paula, and Lisa are on that stage?
Because what we talked about earlier, they judge.
Right.
So they're going to be judged.
Exactly. So what you sow, you shall reap. If you judge, Scripture says, if you judge, it shall be judged unto you, right? Now, prophetically, if American Idol is a prophetic statement of where our country's at, do you think that Simon and Paula would be prophetic also? Right?
Absolutely.
You guys, y'all know, I had the Lord gave me a prophetic word when the Miss America pageant happened, and remember the titles got switched. Man, that was so prophetic.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. The mottos of those countries were spoke so much about the world and what was happening in the mottos of. I'll try to find it. I think it may be on my blog, but make no mistake. That Pia, who meant Pia, who they gave the crown to, meant, I think it was consecrated of God, and the other one, it was a switching of the crowns. Basically, it was taking it from this understanding, and now it's this consecration of God, and the crown was being exchanged, right? And so it was on a world platform.
Wow.
So if we know that American Idol is a prophetic statement, is it by coincidence that Simon and Paula are on there? No, they're also prophetic in real life. We have to say that in my team. In the natural? Yes, in the natural.
Is this a dream or
Is this a dream?
really-
Yeah. Did that happen in the natural? Like, that's like our conversation.
Dream deception.
Notice that Lisa is the only one who wasn't supposed to be there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? She comes from a whole nother show.
Right.
Simon says, God has heard and has been diligent. Paula speaks of loving, and you can see that in their communication too. Now, a negative, so oftentimes when you do a dream symbol, and it's so important too, because just because, and we'll go back to sex, just because you have sex, I have 9 kids, that's what we talk about. So, when you have, not all the time, sometimes the person you're having sex with, if it's more of a demonic understanding too, you look at the name, the meaning of the name, but you flip it to understand the opposite of that name is. Right? So sometimes you can be, coming into engagement or alignment with things that are not honorable. Right? And we get that from a positive and negative discernment. Is it a positive? So when you encounter someone in your dream and it's not real positive, look up the meaning of the name. It's the opposite of that. Because we will often produce, if we are not submitted to Christ, we will produce the opposite of what your name means. My name means beloved. When people dream about me, it's usually my gift because of dreams, or I can represent Jesus also because I'm the beloved one. But I can tell you, when the enemy came to seek, kill and destroy, I was not beloved. I was the exact opposite of that. And it wasn't until I submitted to Christ that I became my name. Names are very important. That's why God changed them all the time. He changed names all the time. They're prophetic banners. Names mean everything to God. Right? And so that's why he changes their name. So, and numbers. Names and numbers. God loves names and numbers. So Simon means diligent and God heard. What's the opposite of that? Lack of hearing, lack of understanding. And what's the opposite of diligent? Lazy. And Paula means loving, but and the opposite would be unloving. Now, Paula and Simon are a great reflection of each other, right? It's a mirrored image. Simon is going to tell it like it is, very prophetic, right? Because in our as a prophet, our weakness of the gift is to come into you and tell you exactly what we think. We're just going to tell you what we think. Right. And we can get away with it because we have this understanding in the church that that's what a prophet does. Long gone are the days of the misunderstood prophet. The prophet comes in love. You will know a prophet by his love.
Yes.
You will know a prophet by his love.
Yes.
No more are the days that you come in and think you're going to come into a church and lay it down. Right? Because that's why people don't invite the prophets back in. Because they've misunderstood the concept of love. Simon is a perfect example of a weakness of a prophet, of a prophetic gift, right?
Wow.
Paula is a beautiful example of someone loving and kind. Right? Paula is. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
I mean, she's that demure, sweet spirit that's kind of like, come on, Simon. Right?
Almost to a fault, though. She tries to sugarcoat and
Right?
not
That's
deliver it
not
harshly. Yeah.
right. That is so. Without submission of Christ, you can go. In fact, I just ran into a Jezebel that kind of surprised me because it came in a demure, sweet spirit, and it jack slapped me because I was not expecting it. Right? And I was like, Lord, how did I miss that? But I didn't expect it to come in such a sweet. Let's pray for you. I caught it in a lie, so I confronted the lie. I threw the gauntlet down and caught it in a lie, and she it was like, we'll pray for you, Amy. It was that demure, just that sugar coated. So we see totally the opposite, right? Why is Lisa on the show in the dream?
She's awesome.
Is she?
Her name is
That's Lisa.
She isn't supposed to be
It
there.
doesn't fit into the norm.
She doesn't fit in. What does her name mean?
Consecrated.
Consecrated means what? Set apart. So it's interesting. Now you have the two images, and then you have something that says, if you're consecrated. And she comes from Dancing with the Stars, right? And dancing represents Song of Solomon. Can represent that Song of Solomon dance, right? So they're all, and she doesn't say anything. He's quiet. But Paul is a little bit, hey. So what we see on a national level, when we see on a world stage, American Idol, what we're seeing is these people are judging. This is what's being judged out there, right? But on an influence basis in a community, what are we dealing with? We've got to be careful because these represent our character. These people represent our character. When we judge too harshly, when we tolerate, and when we're passive, and we don't tolerate. And what do these two do? They project, right? Because that's what happens when you're not submitted to Christ. You project, right? And so that's what judgment is. You're projecting your own sin, basically. And now we have Lisa, who's consecrated to God. So we've got a beautiful example right there. Why are they in black?
Black's death, right?
Can speak to death except for, it says formal.
Okay.
So in a negative sense, can speak of death. And sometimes when we are of the things, because notice, this is key. Here they're wearing black formal, which you only wear at night. At night, cocktail parties happen at night. Black formals happen at night. But here we have spring and summer attire.
Ah, yeah.
Night and day. Right?
And when you're formal, you're typically closed off, you're not transparent, you're very rigid.
It's all about what I look like. It's all about the outer appearance, right? And they're waiting and being prepared to be judged. And I think speaking to you on an influence basis is being aware that in brokenness, we're waiting for this judgment moment. It's kind of like you're having to deal with, and I had a dream about Eastgate. I won't share it, but some of it had to do with some stuff that was going on. There was an overcoming that needed to happen in order to receive a reward. And as pastors, we have to get them there. And so we recognize that when you judge, what happens? You're judged. And we've got to walk people through the brokenness and the grace of God. That even in their brokenness, even in their consequences, right? They can't walk. The broken legs represent a lack of being able to walk things out, needing assistance. He surely didn't need assistance there. But after you go through that process with God, there's a humbling effect. There's a need for others. You can't do it on your own.
And what hit me there is in the parable with the shepherd and the sheep is how did the shepherd keep the sheep from wandering off as they break their legs so that they can keep them close. So.
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah.
That's so good. Did y'all hear that? Mm-hmm. Okay. And so what happens is now we've got this understanding, this when she says, he was moved, that now he's there's a feeling there now. This as prophets we're just like, shh, don't talk to me. You shut off feelings because you've got to go deliver a hard word probably. But here now he's starting to be transparent and bring some understanding. And there's a humility that takes place.
And shift from the theater.
Well, because what? Yeah, because. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yes. So the shift goes from black attire. We've got the opposite things that are happening in the natural. It is for everyone to see, and almost on a stage where other people can see that happening. And we have to have grace for those people, because in our community, what's going to happen are broken people. See, you don't go to church because everyone has it together. We go to church because everybody there recognizes they're broken and they need a Savior. And if you think for 1 second you're going to go to church and everything's going to be okay, you're going to be offended and you're going to leave because everything's not okay. Because we are a broken people. She hates when I use that word, but that's the word I'm using. She'll come in and clean that up for me. She calls it blockages. And it is blockages, but for our understanding, we are a fractured soul, right? And we need healing. And it's the only reason we went to church is because we recognized, oh my God, what is this mess? And then we come into church, and what do we tell people at church? Be on your best behavior. Cover that up. Don't let them see that messiness. They'll be offended and they'll leave. And so what happens is I got to put on my elite language. I got to put on my black formal dress. I got to put on my mask. And then, now I've entered into judgment. Oh, well, they're not as spiritual as I am. They do not listen. Right? Can you see the process of the church? And then what happens? A pastor who understands this, when he comes in to bring the consequences, because they're coming, then what happens is he changes our mantle, our attire. He changes whenever we dream of clothing or shoes. Shoes are what you're called to walk in. Pants are your calling. Your shirt, your jacket is your mantle. It's the gift that God has bestowed upon you. And so when those things get changed through the divine chaos that has to happen, we go from being on stage and people staring at us and being embarrassed because people are watching the consequences happen, to being in an open field, wide open, right? And what ends up happening as pastors is that they don't need to bring any more consequences. God's going to do that. What they bring is the favor and the love and the, hey, I'm thinking about you. What do flowers mean? I love you. You're on my heart. Right? And so flowers say, hey, I'm going to honor you. I'm going to bless you. I'm even going to, you know what? Until you get healed, I'm going to push your wheelchair. You can kick, scream, spit. I don't care. I'm still going to love you. I'm still going to love you. And so this is a beautiful understanding of your sphere of influence, which is the community. Understanding that we come from this because we sow into this, we reap this, but this is what you're to bring as God does this.
You know what occurs to me is I wonder too if almost like this is a percentages of church. So you've got a third are you're kind of out there. You clearly know those people are broken because they're loud-mouthed and they give themselves away. And then you have a third who act really good and really spiritual, but they're passive and they're really not dealing at all. And then you have your third who are really walking in some maturity and some healedness.
Yeah.
The most noticeable thing for me was that when Simon was up there, it was that he was Simon of American Idol, harsh, right, But here, he was moved because what he was expecting to happen did not happen. Right. And so then he went
It was mercy. He got mercy.
Whoa.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And this really is a call to your church and to your church body is, will we commit to not bringing consequences? It is not your job to bring the consequences. It is not your job to shun, to gossip, to criticize. We have got to allow others to walk their journey out. You had to, they have to.
Yeah.
Your only job is to bring flowers.
Yeah.
It's your only job. Because shame and humiliation take its own place. And God comes in to break those things off of us. Right? We don't have to do that.
I'll finish it with this. When the dream was at that very end, I remember knowing, as if I had heard the Lord. I didn't hear his voice, but there was a knowing that he was saying grace and forgiveness.
Yeah.
Extend grace and forgiveness to those who are judged harshly.
Yeah.
It seems like there's even a connection with this dream and the last dream. The whole 35 in Isaiah 35, it talks about the river and from the wilderness going to the rejoicing, to the blossoming of the rose, and you can kind of see that picture. And so, are you seeing so Simon would be like a characteristic of a hard judgmental prophet,
Or person.
or person, and probably
The weakness, usually when you see very critical people, most likely you can just go ahead and know that when you get them, if you can work with them to get them healed, they're going to be amazing prophets.
Okay.
It's the weakness of our gift set, is we are judgmental and critical. We have something to say about everything.
And as I was writing Simon, I got a picture of the Simon, the Pharisee, that was asking Jesus why this woman had spent all this money on the nard, and was so like judging the Lisas, the truly loving, worshipful, sold out,
Wow.
heartfelt Christian. And then, as God broke his legs, he received the mercy.
Right.
The thing that always stood out with me and Paula, like on American Idol when we did watch it, was that she always struggled to tell the truth. Like she would always make her way around. She could never say what was really on her
That's an
heart.
intercessor.
Yeah.
Intercessors is the weakness of an intercessor gift, is that they are seeing things, they can see things, but they're oftentimes very passive, because in the strength of their gift, they have to be very direct. And sometimes because of what they see, their weakness is that they'll dance around it, because they don't have this they don't have this gene. It's a different gene. So what they do is they dance around it, and they put on this mask because they really want to be liked, but truly intercessors are kind of an odd duck. They're just a little bit strange, right? They see things that we don't see typically, and they behave in ways that we don't behave typically. And a weakness of that gift is that they start acting weird in your church. They just act weird. And so it's kind of like, how do you discipline it? Because you can't really put your thumb on it, because you don't really have any exact situations. So it's like you're trying to put your thumb on something that is just this weakness that happens. And it's totally, and I think she's absolutely right. It's like the beautiful picture of the church, of where we're at. That's a good dream.
And dancing with the stars, don't stars, can't they represent angels too?
Stars can. I've heard that before. I think stars just represent your ability to shine. The light that shines within you. And stars catch your gaze, right? So when you see a star twinkling or shooting, right, it catches your gaze. And we look into the stars to reflect. It's just kind of a reflection moment. And so when you do symbols, you want to look at symbols as it's the one time you're able to just think logically about things, and I know that's weird when we're talking about a nonlinear thing, but think through what does that, and that helps you with symbols too. When you think, oh, well, I'm not going to be able to get that symbol. Well, what does that symbol do? What's its main function? Why does it do that? If not this, then this. Why this, not that? And it kind of unlocks that symbol for you. And oftentimes, like, only because I knew what snapping turtle was, oftentimes it's okay to go and look up, what does snapping turtle mean? Or what does this mean? And because a lot of times God's going to give you in a dream something you're going to have to go find after. You've got to go work for it. Yes?
I have a quick question. You talked about the 3 types of dreams and as being progressive and also indicative of maturity. Aren't they also cyclical?
They are. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the eternal understanding of the spirit realm. Yeah. So everything is in a cycle. Everything happens in patterns and cycles, and yet it also happens in progression, right?